All right, everyone. It is time for game one of the 1500 point tournament battle report I went to for the UK Games Expo. This is the Worlds Beyond tournament, and my first game I faced Dave, bringing his alien hives with some custodian brother allies. Let's get into that as well. So this is a 1500 points battle, 5 objectives. We are on a 4x4 table. And so just so you know, this particular one, this was a very intense battle. So I missed a lot. I'm gonna, especially on the first turn, I am gonna try to cover a lot of things, but this battle was so intense that I did at times just miss pictures. So I'm gonna try to explain some of the things that I missed after the fact, and just sort of bear with me. I do apologize here. Hopefully, you can get an idea of what happened because this game was very great. It was super intense, and I think there's a lot to learn in this game. So let's get into that as well. Let's look at the army list. This is mine in the tournament here. I went for an Elven Noble. He's got Shield of Grace, which is regen. I have him with the Revenants. I also have the Energy Field, so he's got Stealth as well. So those Revenants are both going to have that regen and Stealth, and he's got Shield Wall. Just after those Revenants die, he's going to be a little more protected as well. I then have a 5-man unit of Protectors. This is basically sort of a chaff unit that can maybe do a little good. 10-man unit of Revenants that I have running with dual Mirror Scythes. These are just my main hand-to-hand unit. I then got a 10-man unit of Retributors that I've got ran with. So I have an Energy Sword and a Dire Sword in there. And then I've got the Flicker Shield upgrade. So they also have regen as well. So you see, in this army is going to have 2 really big units that both have regen to give them a little more staying power. I then have a 5-man unit of Shifters that'll be coming in from Ambush. And then I have the big sort of counterplay that I'm running. I think I'm going to be in this tournament. I am predicting that I'll be facing a lot of like Hive Lords and equivalents. So in this particular Hermits, I do have a counter pick, which is a 6-man unit of Scorchers, all with fusion rifles. So for my opponent, Dave, really good list. So he's running a Hive Lord. He's actually split. He's got 2 Slashing Blades, 2 Serrated Blades. So some Rending, some AP4. Wings and Ambush, like you do. That's sort of a standard build. Caster 3, which I think is a really good pick on this Hive Lord. Caster 3 is working great. Especially when he comes in from Ambush, he's going to have those 6 caster tokens. He's got a great sister with Eternally Vigilant, and that's +1 to hit, as long as there's Energy Sword. Some Custodian Brothers that he's armed with Energy Swords as well, and gave them combat shields. Yeah, I like the fact that he didn't bring regen on these Custodian Brothers. He's got that Hive Lord there to provide the regen sort of whenever he needs it. 10-man unit of Salt Grunts that he has the Adrenaline. This is the No Retreat. So this is basically making them undead. And I'm going to go into this army specifically, but, and then so let's just finish off. So he's also got some Prosecution Sisters, a really good unit. I didn't mind the Custodian Brothers. I thought that, honestly, the Custodian Brothers in this army really could have, you easily could have ran a pure Alien Hives list. So I think the Custodian Brothers were more something he just wanted to play. Could have easily ran Alien Hives pure and did just as well. But the Prosecution Sisters are really good where they are fearless and relentless in those 24-inch range. This is such a great unit. 60 points for a Hive Swarm. Ambush. The big thing as well, the quality 6. We're going to get into sort of morale mitigation on this unit. But yeah, Hive Swarm as well with the Ambush. It's such a good unit for objective control. Shadow Hunter that he's running with Rending, so that's 8 attacks. Again, another really good unit. And again, another one is Spores, 75 units as well. One of the things I would say that Dave's army is very well. One, it handles a lot. But one of the things that you're going to see in this army is he's got so much waiver mitigation. He's either got Fearless on his units, especially on things like that Hive Swarm, that Fearless. The other thing, any units that don't have Fearless sort of ignore the traditional waiver mechanic. So those Assault Grunts have no retreat, which is undead on the unit. So he's really thinking very smartly in that he has so much of his units are able to, through Fearless, just ignore the waivers. Also, his Spores, the Explode too. One of the really great things about Spores is that the Explode means you pass morale checks automatically. And that, for a chaff unit and for objective control, is super good on that unit. So that's something that we're going to get into, and it's going to really affect the game. That's something that Dave's really thought about, and it's what makes Alien Hive so good, that they have the ability to have so much waiver mitigation in the army. All right, so let's go look at the army list. So this is just some of his models: the Hive Lord, the Custodian brothers with the sister, the Prosecution sisters, and then he's using those Gene Stealers, but that is his assault grunts. So just to keep that in mind, these are assault grunts, and they're not soul snatchers. Then he's got his spores, and he has his swarms as well in the top left. All right, so yeah, that's just another picture of his army. Let's just look at this setup. So again, I'm going to be really frank that we set up, and it was so intense that I forgot to take pictures. So I really do apologize, especially for this first turn. This game got so intense, but I am going to cover what happened here because I didn't take pictures of the setup. So these are the objectives. You've got he put his two on this side, and then there's one in the center, and then I sort of put my two on this far right here. So for my plan is I know that with his army, he's got so much objective control. He's got so much control on ambush that when you're facing an army like this, you can't spread out too much. You have to keep your units close because you can't let a unit get jumped and then just get ambushed and died and no way to sort of react to it. So what I'm really doing here in my army, and you don't see this unfortunately, is that I'm really setting, if you see the mouse, I'm setting all my army up sort of in this area between this wooden, this ruins and these trees and then this difficult terrain. My goal here is I'm trying to grab the center objective and then these two objectives on the right. I know that I'm not going to be able to contest these two objectives here. So, Dave has a lot of maneuverability in his army. So he actually sets his assault grunts on this top left and his prosecution sisters here so that he's able to just, on turn one, very quickly grab these two objectives. And then he's going to swing into the center. And basically it's going to become a free-for-all, just fighting for all of these objectives. He also sets his spores on this side to sort of contest this way, and then his custodian brothers are running the center here. So yeah, sorry we didn't get pics of that. It just is what it is. So turn one, I do get a chance to go first. All right, so on my turn one, yeah, I just move up this defender squad, and I actually get within 3 inches to contest this objective on the far right. He, in turn, just rushes up his spores. He's also able to get within 3 to contest this objective here. So I really want these spores to die, so I actually move these banshees up, and I don't get everyone. I think it's about 8 banshees gets to shoot. I roll pretty good, but he managed to just have 1 survive. And we go back to that. This thing automatically passes morale, so this thing is just good, and he's able to contest this objective just by having 1 left. It's a really powerful unit. He then just, again, on the left, he just rushes up these assault grunts and just grabs this objective on the far left. So this isn't shown, but my retributors, they do move up and they shoot these custodian brothers. I end up doing like 4 wounds on them. So I'd kill one and put one on. I do 4 or 5 wounds actually. So this isn't pictured as well, but he actually, so on the far left, he moves those prosecution sisters down, grabs that objective, and is actually able to get a beeline and shoots these scorchers, killing 4. He does roll good, but this is definitely a mistake. I probably should have just protected these scorchers. So I lose 4 scorchers, which is huge. I just go ahead and just move the scorchers up in front of the retributors just so they're protected. Yeah, I think I do shoot. So here, he just moves up his custodians. I think they shoot something, but they don't do much damage. And yeah, so that is just the end of turn 1. So here we're going to see here. Just like he does, he's moved up those prosecution sisters and they shot those scorchers this way. The scorchers moved up. This is his assault grunts that just rush up on turn 1. So he's already grabbed 2 of these objectives. And again, it's just showing you, I've already just given up these 2 objectives. I know that I'm going to be fighting for the center objective and the objective on the right. Just on the right side, you can see here, it's not shown, but because one of these spores survived, he's able to contest this objective. I do technically have the center objective right now. So that's going on here. And here are my shifters. They'll be coming into ambush next turn. That's just another picture here on a different angle, and you can see him grabbing these objectives right here, and he's going to start swinging into the center here, or I'm going to try to fight for these 2 objectives here. Yeah, and that's just another picture as well you can sort of see. All right, turn two. I do get to go first, which is very key because I know he's bringing in that Hive Lord. So let's get into that. So the first thing I do is I bring my shifters. They have a lot of maneuverability, so I actually just bring them behind the Retributors. And he just goes ahead and brings his Hive Lord in. And it's a really smart. He's basically, this Hive Lord is able to threaten both the Shifters and the Banshees, or the Revenants. Luckily, I do get a chance to go first, and yeah, we'll get into that as well. And then the other thing is that he brings his, I forgot what it's called, but basically his Lictor guy here to also threaten these Shifters as well. So I'm in a really tough spot. I really need to sort of deal with this Hive Lord. Again, so the best thing I just decided to do, it's a tough decision. I actually just send in the Banshees. They go in with the leader. They actually end up doing like 7 wounds on him. He actually just rolls great, though. And this was a tough thing. He rolls terrific. And actually does 11 wounds. He kills all the revenants and does 1 wound on the leader. The leader does pass the morale, but that was a tough one. I really needed him not to roll well, and he rolled well and just wiped out these revenants. So that Hive Lord, it did a lot of work. Anyway, so the Hive Lord moves up. He does charge the Shifters, but so he moves up here and then he casts his spells. I think he cast the spell, a damage spell, that he does some wounds on the Shifters, but they roll good. And then he casts the deadly spell on my below my Elven Noble. That Noble does have regen, so I managed to save 2 of those regen saves, and he takes a wound. But this isn't shown, but that Elven Noble at the bottom does get wavered because he takes an extra wound and he fails that waver check. So that Elven Noble was wavered. And then, although he's fatigued, he goes ahead and just charges the Shifters. He rolls. He doesn't roll great, and luckily only kills 1 of these Shifters here. But yeah, I could have a little bit of luck on my part. That Hive Lord could have easily done a lot worse here. So yeah, and then he just backs off here. So I have 4 Shifters. Yeah, so that's just that side of it. I go ahead. Yeah, oh yeah, the Retributors move up and they shoot the Hive Lord. They do another 3 wounds. So that Hive Lord is down to 3 wounds, but he's still around, just tanking damage. Then the Custodian brothers and sisters, they move up and they attack the 2 remaining Scorchers and kill them. That's just him moving up. So at this point, I use a combination of my 6 move plus my teleport to move here, and then I get a shot. I really need to roll well. I think I get all 4 of them hit, and I managed to just one-shot this Lictor. So that's a huge deal. I needed to take out this guy, and I rolled it. I get that one-shot on that Lictor. His spore just goes ahead and just charges these Guardians. I think between the explosion, managed to kill 1 of those Guardians. As well. The Guardians then just move back and they shoot at the Custodian brothers unshown, and they manage to actually kill another of these Custodian brothers. But again, a lot of quality 3 and Fearless, like he is just not, he's not wavering. But I do manage to kill another Custodian brother, just whittling that down. Again, this is these Assault Grunts. They're coming from the far left and they're coming to the center. Again, they've got Strider. Another thing that we can talk about in his army that he does very well, he's got a lot of Strider in his army. So these Assault Grunts are super good. They just rush forward with a Strider and fast, and are able to just threaten to be involved next turn. This isn't shown as well, but the Prosecution Sisters, they move up and they get a shot onto my Retributors. I think they managed to kill a few of them. I think that, they kill like 2, so that's those Prosecution Sisters shooting my Retributors and killing 2 of them. And yeah, that's the recap for turn 2. This is, again, one of the things on these 4x4 tables, it's a very fast and brutal game. And as you can see here, so let's keep in mind, he already has these 2 objectives here. Those are grabbed. It's all about just fighting for these 3 now. I still have 1, but now he's claimed this center one. He's basically pushed me off the center one, and then this right one as well. I never actually fully grabbed it because his spores were able to touch it. So I don't even have this one. Remember, this was contested by those spores, the one in the trees. Luckily, I forgot to say this. I think something else shot. I think it was the Guardians that when they shot the Hive Lord, I think it was the Guardians or something shot the Hive Lord, and I did manage to waver the Hive Lord. Yeah, that was those Guardians. Or I think it was the Retributors. I'm sorry. They shot the Hive Lord, and they managed to waver this Hive Lord. So this is the one thing keeping me in the game. The fact that this Hive Lord was wavered. It's just such a big deal. So I'm still in this game. but it's it's not looking great. Yeah, so that's just another picture as well, and you can just see that the wavering on the Hive Lord as well. It's a pretty big deal. And yeah, that's just again showing you a really big deal that Hive Lord on 3 wounds got wavered. I think again that's really just keeping me in the game. Turn 3, I do get to go first again, so High Elf fleets get to go first. He does go ahead and bring in his swarms. Again, these swarms are super good just to contest the objective, so he actually goes and contests this objective. And yeah, and so the first thing that these spiders do is they go ahead and they teleport into difficult terrain. I don't want to get charged by those custodians, and then they go ahead and they shoot the custodians. I go ahead and kill them, so the custodians with the sister get wiped out. So that's one. Again, I don't need to focus on this Hive Lord for now because he's wavered. It's a really big deal. He goes ahead and he charges these Retributors. This is luckily where I have some hand-to-hand units in there. He kills 3 of them. I managed to kill some myself. Yeah, I killed 3. It's actually a tied combat because I do have that energy sword in there. So it's a tied combat, but I do manage to thin out these guys. The Retributors then, they move on the center objective and they shoot those sisters, killing 4 of them. But again, one of the things his army has, he has that waver mitigation. A lot of fearless, and that waver mitigation is just very key. So these sisters pass their morale. The 3 swarms, they go ahead and just charge these guardians. They kill 1 of them, and then I manage to do. I actually do 2 wounds on these swarms, but because if they're fearless, they pass their morale. So even at quality 6, and even though these guys won combat, just having that fearless is able to just deal with those morales. At this point, the guardians, they move back and they shoot the grunts. So you see, so here's the Hive Lord. They shoot these grunts here. They kill a couple more of them. I think they kill like 3 or 4. Again, it takes them down to 50%, but they actually pass their morale. But even if they didn't, they have that they have that undead effectively, no retreat. But they do pass their morale. Yeah, at this point, the Hive Lord unwavers, and then this is also my Elven Noble also just unwavers. And this is the sister. She just moves up. She's going to try to contest the center objective next turn. She shoots at the Retributors, but she doesn't do any damage here. And yeah, that's the turn. That's turn 3 done. So these are still his 2 objectives, but actually I managed to grab the center objective. I also grab... so here, the swarms... They contest this objective. Like, these swarms are doing so much work. I never could grab this objective in the forest, and now they're contesting this objective. So now it's 2-1, and you can just see the power of these swarms, and the power of the fact that with that fearless, I can't waver any of his units. It was just lucky that I got this waver on the Hive Lord. He failed his quality 3 and fearless here. But it is turn 4. That's just looking at it. And again, it's all about next turn. I need to somehow grab 3 objectives. So, yeah, turn 4. I do get to go first as well. And let's see how I can do. So the first thing the spiders do is they manage to move in. They get their 1-inch range. And they barely are able to contest both of these objectives. At this point, these guys, they shoot at the Hive Lord. The Hive Lord only has 3 wounds left, and I am able to kill that Hive Lord. So, but and this has been talked about, that Hive Lord has absorbed so much damage that it's sort of made its purpose. At this point, yeah, there's 3 guys left. They charge these Avengers, and and I'm still in this game. But they charge, they kill 1 of these Avengers, and then I have a sword, by the way, and I completely whiff. And it's 1-0. I fail. And then, so basically he wins morale, even though I roll really bad and he doesn't take any wounds. But I then fail my morale and all of these Retributors die. So that's basically game right there. And I'll show you something. It's the important part of it. I don't have waver mitigation. And so this was just huge for me. The fact that I wasn't able to kill these guys. And even if I would have killed them, they still have that undead check and this sister. So, but this was the game. Basically, when these Retributors whiffed and then failed their morale, and just, yeah, that was it. So, yeah, so that's just them consolidating onto the center objective. At this point, I try to charge my leader into the swarms. I managed to win combat, but again, his Hive swarms have fearless. So they still pass their morale like anyway. So it just, these hive swarms are the MVP of the game. The fact that they're quality 6 and fearless for 60 points, these guys are just such a great deal. And so this is just me finishing up. It is a kill on secondary wins. You do get a chance for kill points. So I actually just move up these 2 guardians and finish that last sister off. So that's just me just getting a few extra points here. But that is the game. Yeah. Yeah, I think here, or did I actually waiver these guys? It didn't really matter. I think actually I did manage to waiver these hive swarms. So yeah, I think I actually grabbed 2 objectives, maybe. I think so. It didn't matter because it was a 3-2 anyway. So he had these 3 objectives here. That's just him showing the hive swarm being dead. We had a good. It was a great game, And this again, one of the things that just he was at a huge advantage was the ability that he just basically grabbed 2 objectives, and it was all about the center objectives. Yep. It's technically a 3-2. I forgot that I wavered those hive swarms, so it is a 3-2 victory. But it did go to Dave and his alien hives custodian post. It was a super great game. I mean, I still think the armies were equally matched. I think the Hive fleets did well, but I go back to it that waiver mitigation of the alien hives was really the winning factor in this game. Just some learning points. I think I could have protected the Scorchers more. I did expose them, and then those sisters, those prosecution sisters did shoot. They did roll well, but that still should have just really protected those Scorchers better. That was my mistake. But the big thing is, I go back to it, in an objective-based game, morale mitigation is king. If you can have, and one of the things Alien Hive have, they've got fearless on the right units, and they've got these undead rules on some of the units as well. Their ability, that's some of the unspoken power of Alien Hives, is the fact that they have fearless on the right units, and they have undead on the right units. They have so much morale mitigation as well. Chaff was key. I go back to it. His spores and that 3-man unit of swarms did so great, won him the game. And the Hive Lords were of course terrific, especially Caster 3 is so good on them. They ambush in, they've got 6 caster tokens, and it's a really great unit. Hey, thanks for watching. Love to get feedback. I'm going to be creating battle reports for the other games in the UK Expo. I say this, I had a blast. I hope this can definitely help you either one, understand what a high-level competitive Alien Hives army is going to do, and 2, how you can beat it. So I hope that helped you out. Hey, thanks so much, everyone.